Marco stood near the wide glass window of his tower office. The city lights stretched below him like a sea of stars. He had built this tower with his own money, brick by brick, floor by floor, until it stood taller than every other building around it. People called him a billionaire. They said he had everything a man could ever want. But Marco knew the truth. He had nothing. 2 years ago, his wife, Anna, was declared dead. Her ship had gone down in orbit, torn apart during a routine journey to the research station. Rescue teams searched for weeks, but all they found was twisted metal and burned wreckage. No body. No last message. Only silence. Marco's world ended that day. He continued his business because he had to, but inside, he lived like a ghost. He refused parties, refused friends, and locked himself in his tower, surrounded by machines and silence. But tonight, silence was broken. A sound echoed across the office, the soft chime of the private elevator. Marco turned slowly, surprised. No one came here without his order. Security would never allow it. The doors opened. Out stepped a young woman. She looked no older than 20. Her skin was dark, her eyes sharp, her steps confident even though she stood in the office of one of the most powerful men on earth. She did not wait to be spoken to. She simply walked until she stood before him, her hands folded behind her back. And then she said the words that froze him where he stood. "Your wife is still alive." Marco's heart nearly stopped. For a moment, he thought he misheard. He stared at the girl in silence, waiting for her to correct herself. But she did not. Her eyes did not waver. Her voice did not shake. Anger rose in him. Many had tried before: reporters, liars, even those hoping for money. They whispered promises, false hopes, cruel tricks that tore his heart open again and again. He had learned to throw them out. But still, those words pulled at his soul like a magnet. He stepped closer, his voice low and sharp. "Do you know what you're saying? My wife died 2 years ago." The girl nodded once. "That is what they want you to believe. But she is alive." Marco's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" "My name is Myra," she said simply. "I cannot tell you everything yet. But I can show you proof." From behind her back, she brought out a small object. It gleamed in the dim office light. Marco's breath caught. His hand trembled as he reached for it. It was a pendant. A silver chain with a stone in the middle, scratched on one side. Marco knew this pendant. He had seen it every day for years. It belonged to Anna. He had given it to her on their wedding day. She never took it off, not once. His hand closed around it, and memories flooded in. Anna's smile. Her laugh. The way she always touched the pendant when she was thinking. His voice cracked as he whispered, "Where did you get this?" Myra looked straight at him. "From her." Marco staggered back, his mind racing. He wanted to believe, but disbelief fought inside him like a storm. If Anna had survived, why hadn't she come back? Why had no one told him? Why would she give this pendant to a stranger? "You're lying," he said, though the words came weakly. "You want money, or power. That's what this is." "I want nothing," Myra replied calmly. "But if you truly wish to know the truth, you must come with me. The answers are not here. They are far from Earth, in a place you cannot reach without me." Marco stared at her. She looked young, fragile even, but her eyes carried a weight far older than her years. He turned toward the window again, gripping the pendant so tightly it hurt his hand. Outside, the city glittered, careless of his pain. His thoughts spun like a hurricane. Could it be possible? Could Anna have survived? His mind whispered doubt, but his heart roared with hope. He turned back. "If this is a trick, if you are playing with me, I will destroy you." Myra did not flinch. Then destroy me when you see the truth. But first, follow the path. You are not the only one searching for her. Marco's chest tightened. Not the only one? What did that mean? Before he could speak again, his office door opened. His old pilot, Rami, hurried in, alarm written across his face. Sir, she just walked past security like they weren't even there. Do you want me to remove her? Marco shook his head slowly, still staring at Myra. No. She stays. Rami froze. He glanced at Myra, then back at Marco. He saw the pendant in his employer's hand and fell silent. Marco turned the pendant over and over in his fingers. He wanted to crush it, to prove it false. But the scratches, the small crack, even the faint scent of Anna's perfume clinging to the chain, it was real. It had to be. His heart thundered. For the first time in 2 years, something inside him flickered to life. Not anger. Not grief. Hope. Marco faced Myra again. His voice was firm now. If my wife is alive, I will find her. And if what you say is true, I will uncover the truth no matter who tries to stop me. Myra nodded. Then you must prepare yourself. Because they will try to stop you. They already know you will come. Marco frowned. Who are they? But Myra only turned her eyes to the city below. You will see soon enough. The office fell silent, except for the faint hum of machines. Marco looked once more at the pendant, then at the girl who had brought it. His life had been a hollow shell for years, but now, for the first time, a door had opened. And he would walk through it. He clenched the pendant in his fist and said the words that sealed his choice. Prepare the ship. Marco did not sleep that night. The pendant lay on the desk in front of him, shining under the dim light. His hand kept reaching out, touching it, as if to confirm it was real and not just another cruel dream. Every time his fingers brushed against the cold metal, his chest tightened. It was Anna's. There was no doubt. Across from him, Myra sat silently, her eyes calm and unreadable. She had said nothing more after those shocking words. She seemed content to let him wrestle with his own thoughts. Finally, as the first light of dawn broke across the city, Marco spoke. If my wife is alive, I need to know where. Tell me everything. Myra leaned forward. I will tell you only what is safe. Anna is not on Earth. She is not even in the mapped trade routes you control. She is far away, in a place most people pretend does not exist. A colony that is hidden from records. Marco frowned. Hidden? Impossible. Every world is tracked. Not every world, Myra replied softly. Some are erased. Anna was taken to one of them. Marco's mind turned quickly. If this was true, then powerful hands were behind it. Someone had erased an entire colony from maps. That was not the work of petty criminals. That was the work of corporations or governments. Rami entered the office then, carrying 2 cups of black coffee. His eyes flicked toward Myra suspiciously, but he handed 1 cup to Marco and set the other aside. You haven't slept, sir, Rami said carefully. What's happening? Who is she? Marco picked up the pendant, holding it out. She brought me this. Rami froze. His face paled. He recognized it instantly. Anna's pendant, but how? That's what I intend to find out, Marco said firmly. He turned to Myra. If you want me to trust you, you must give me more than riddles. Myra studied him for a long moment, then nodded. She pulled out a small device from her pocket. It projected a faint blue light into the air, forming a map. Marco leaned closer. The map showed familiar trade routes, the wide web of travel lines humans used across the stars. But Myra touched the edge of the projection, and hidden paths appeared, dim and almost erased, like scars across the map. There, Myra said, pointing to a cluster of faint lines leading to a dark, empty zone. Your wife's ship was diverted. The crash you heard about was a lie. Instead, she was taken along this route. Rami's brow furrowed. That's impossible. That region is listed as empty space. That's what they want you to believe, Myra replied. But there is a colony there. It is where people go when they are meant to disappear. Marco's jaw tightened. He traced the faint line with his finger. He remembered the day of the so-called accident. He had demanded the flight logs, but officials told him they were destroyed in the wreck. Now, looking at Myra's map, he realized the truth: the records weren't destroyed, they were altered. Who erased this? He asked. Myra's eyes darkened. A company with influence beyond governments. They control trade, research, and even information. Anna found something they wanted to keep buried. That is why she was taken. Marco's heart pounded. What did she find? That, Myra said, is what you must discover for yourself. The room fell silent. Rami shifted uneasily. Sir, this sounds dangerous. If this company is as powerful as she says, they'll do anything to stop us. Marco looked at him. Rami, you have flown through wars, storms, and blockades with me. Will you turn back now? Rami's lips tightened, then he shook his head. Never. I'll fly wherever you tell me. You know that. Marco gave a rare small smile. He turned to Myra. And what about you? Why risk your life to bring me this message? Myra looked away toward the rising Sunday. Because Anna saved mine once. Without her, I would not be here. Now it is my turn to bring her back. Her voice was steady, but something in her eyes carried deep pain. Marco decided not to press further. Instead, he stood tall. Then it is settled. We will go after her. But we cannot do this with only a map. We will need a ship, supplies, and someone who can repair whatever breaks. Rami grinned faintly. Sarah, he said at once. She's the best mechanic I know. If we're flying off the charts, we'll need her. Marco nodded. Call her. By evening, the three of them gathered at the private hangar beneath the tower. Inside, the starship Horizon waited. It was Marco's pride, sleek and powerful, built for long journeys. He had not flown it in years, not since Anna's death. But as he stepped inside, memories rushed back, memories of journeys with Anna by his side. Sarah arrived soon after, wiping grease from her hands. She was short, practical, her clothes stained from her work. She looked at the group with raised eyebrows. You want me to fix ships outside map space? She asked. Sounds insane. I like it. Marco almost smiled. They began preparations. Rami checked the engines, Sarah loaded spare parts, Myra adjusted the hidden map onto the ship's navigation. Marco watched them work, feeling something stir inside him. For the first time in years, he felt alive again. But as night fell, Sarah returned from outside the hangar with a frown. We have company, she whispered. Marco stiffened. Who? Two men in black cars, watching the hangar. Not moving, not speaking. Just, waiting. Rami cursed under his breath. They already know. Marco clenched the pendant in his hand. Whoever they were, they wanted him afraid. But he would not stop now. We launch at dawn, he said firmly. No delays. Myra looked at him, her expression unreadable. Then be ready. Once we leave Earth, there is no going back. Every step forward will bring enemies closer. Marco met her gaze. I don't care. If Anna is out there, I will find her. The pendant pressed against his palm, sharp and real. Hope burned in his chest like fire. For 2 years he had lived in shadows, believing his heart was buried in wreckage. But now, a path stretched before him, a path into danger, mystery, and perhaps even truth. And he would walk it without fear. The starship Horizon lifted quietly from the private hangar before dawn. Its engines glowed faint blue, almost silent compared to the heavy transport ships that roared over the city each day. Marco stood in the cockpit, watching the tall towers shrink below. The city still slept, unaware that one of its most powerful men was leaving Earth without announcement. Rami sat at the pilot's chair, hands steady on the controls. Sarah leaned against the wall, arms crossed, already calculating how long before something broke and she had to fix it. Myra sat near the navigation screen, eyes focused on the hidden map she had brought. Marco did not speak as Earth faded behind them. His mind was fixed on one thought: Anna. If she was alive, then every second mattered. When the ship broke free of the planet's gravity, Rami let out a long breath. Clear skies. No pursuit. Sarah smirked. Maybe those black cars outside the hangar were just curious. But Myra shook her head. They will not let us go so easily. Watch. Her words proved true. Only minutes after entering orbit, the ship's sensors beeped sharply. Red lines flashed across the screen. Unmarked fighters, 3 of them, Rami muttered, eyes narrowing. Fast and armed. They're not here for greetings. Marco's jaw tightened. Can we outrun them? Maybe, Rami said, fingers flying over the controls. But they're already closing in. The fighters appeared on the screen, dark ships with no insignias, moving with perfect formation. They didn't open fire immediately. Instead, they circled, like predators testing prey. They want to scare us back, Myra said quietly. But if you turn now, you will never see Anna again. Marco's grip tightened on Anna's pendant, hanging around his neck now. We don't turn back. Not ever. The fighters made their move. Beams of light flashed across the void, warning shots meant to force the Horizon to halt. The starship shook as energy rippled nearby. Rami cursed. They're hurting us, not killing us. They want us to retreat. Then we don't give them what they want, Marco said firmly. Rami pulled hard on the controls. The Horizon dove sharply, engines roaring. The fighters followed instantly, their weapons firing closer now. Sarah nearly fell but grabbed the railing, laughing nervously. This is insane. It's survival, Rami shouted back. The chase began. Through asteroid fields, around drifting satellites, between old wrecks left floating in orbit, the Horizon twisted and turned. Rami pushed the ship to its limits, his hands steady despite the chaos. One fighter tried to cut them off, moving fast to block their path. Rami grinned. Not today. He flipped the ship sideways, skimming dangerously close to a large rock. The fighter tried to follow, clipped its wing, and spun out into space. Nice flying, Sarah muttered, gripping the railing tighter. 2 fighters remained. They fired bursts of energy that grazed the Horizon's shields. Warning alarms filled the cockpit. Shields at 60%, Sarah shouted. If they keep this up, we won't last long. Rami's jaw clenched. We need cover. Something big enough to hide us. Myra leaned forward, pointing at the map. There. Debris field from an old warship graveyard. If we enter, their speed will be their weakness. Rami didn't hesitate. He swung the ship toward the coordinates. Soon, huge broken ships appeared, rusted giants, floating tombs of a battle long forgotten. The Horizon slipped into the graveyard, weaving between twisted hulls and shattered towers. The fighters followed, their weapons blasting apart ancient wrecks. Too close. Sarah shouted as sparks rained down inside. Trust me, Rami growled. The fighters pushed forward, eager to corner their prey. But the wreckage worked against them. One fighter turned too sharp, smashing into the skeleton of a cruiser. It exploded silently in the void. Only one remained. This one was careful, slower, determined. It stayed close behind, firing at every chance. The horizon rocked violently, sparks flying from panels. "We can't take much more," Sarah yelled, rushing to the engine room. Marco stood tall, his voice steady. "End this, Rami." Rami's eyes gleamed. He pulled the ship into a narrow passage between two broken battleships. The fighter followed, confident it could squeeze through. "Bad choice," Rami muttered. At the last second, he cut power, drifting silently between the wrecks. The fighter overshot, expecting the horizon to continue at full speed. By the time its pilot realized the trick, it slammed into the sharp remains of a cruiser's wing. Fire blossomed, and the last fighter was gone. Silence returned. Everyone in the cockpit let out long breaths. Sarah stumbled back in, wiping sweat from her forehead. "Engines are stable, but not for long if this keeps happening." Rami leaned back in his chair, finally smiling. "That's 3 hunters who won't report home." Myra, however, did not smile. She looked at Marco seriously. "You see now. They will stop at nothing. Each step forward, they will send more." Marco touched the pendant at his chest. His voice was low but strong. "Let them come. I will fight them all if I must. Anna is out there, and nothing will keep me from her." Myra studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Then you are ready?" Rami adjusted the controls, setting the course. "We still have a long way to go. If her trail leads to that hidden colony, we'll need to prepare for worse than fighters." Sarah sighed, sinking into a chair. "I'll keep the ship alive. But if they send something bigger, like a cruiser, well, then you better pray." Marco didn't answer. His eyes remained fixed on the stars ahead. He had faced rivals, thieves, even assassins in his life. But this was different. This was personal. The galaxy itself seemed to be warning him to turn back. But he would not. The chase was only the beginning. The horizon drifted out of the wreckage field and into the quiet dark. The stars stretched endless in every direction, cold and bright, but Marco's eyes were fixed on one small dot on the map Myra had given them. That dot was their destination, the hidden colony. Rami sat at the controls, hands steady even though his eyes looked tired. Sarah was half asleep near the engine monitor, grease still on her hands from repairing the ship after the chase. Myra sat in silence, her eyes never leaving the navigation display. Marco stood at the wide glass of the cockpit. For years he had looked down at Earth from his tower, believing the universe was far away, untouchable. But now, he was deep inside it, chasing a path no map admitted existed. "How much longer?" Marco asked quietly. Myra checked the map. "One more jump. After that, we will reach the colony. But when we arrive, you must remember this place is not like other worlds. People live here because they were erased. They trust no one. Speak carefully." Rami gave a low whistle. "Sounds like a dream vacation." Sarah snorted. "More like a nightmare. Worlds like that don't show up in official records for a reason." Marco said nothing. His hand touched the pendant at his chest. Every mile they traveled felt heavier, but it was a weight he welcomed. He was closer to Anna than he had been in years. The ship made its last jump. When the stars cleared, a planet appeared below them. It was gray and scarred, with long cracks across its surface, like a wound in stone. Thin clouds circled above, and faint lights glimmered near the dark side. "There it is," Myra said softly. "The forgotten colony." Rami whistled again, but this time with no humor. "That place looks dead." "Not dead," Myra corrected. "Hidden." The horizon descended through weak atmosphere, landing near the edge of what looked like a broken city. Tall buildings leaned half-ruined, patched with metal sheets and crude repairs. Lights flickered in windows, and narrow streets twisted like veins between the rubble. Marco stepped out first, the dry wind hitting his face. The air tasted of dust and old iron. People moved in the shadows, thin, worn, their faces covered with scarves and masks. Their eyes followed the newcomers with suspicion, but no one spoke. "This is where she is?" Marco asked. Myra walked beside him. "This is where her trail leads. If she is not here now, then at least someone here has seen her." They walked deeper into the colony. Rami kept one hand near his sidearm, though he never drew it. Sarah muttered under her breath about how unsafe it felt. Marco ignored them both, his eyes scanning every face they passed. The people here looked broken, but not weak. There was a hardness in their stares, as if each one had seen too much, survived too much. At last, Myra led them to a small building at the edge of the colony. The door was metal, scarred with age. She pushed it open and guided them inside. The air was cooler here. The room was lit by a single lamp, and shelves lined the walls, filled with old books, papers, and strange devices. An older man sat at a table, his back bent, his hands working on a cracked radio. He looked up slowly as they entered. "Myra," he said, his voice low and rough. "You returned." She bowed her head. "I brought him, as promised." The man's eyes shifted to Marco. They were sharp, too sharp for his frail body. "So? The husband?" Marco stiffened. "You know Anna?" The old man said nothing for a long moment. Then he reached under the table and pulled out a worn leather bag. From it, he drew a small book, its cover scuffed and edges torn. Marco's breath caught. He knew that book. Anna's research journal. His hands trembled as he took it. He opened the cover, and his eyes filled as he saw the familiar handwriting. Her handwriting. Notes filled the pages, sketches, diagrams, questions. The old man spoke quietly. "She was here. She worked among us for a time. She told us things no one wanted revealed. That is why they came for her." Marco's voice broke. "Where is she now?" The man shook his head. "I do not know. One day, soldiers came. They searched for her. She fled into the ruins outside the colony. Some say she was captured. Some say she escaped deeper underground. No one has seen her since." Marco closed the book slowly, his chest burning. She had been here. Alive. Close enough to touch. And then gone again. What was she researching? Sarah asked, her voice softer than usual. The old man hesitated, then leaned closer. "This colony was built on ruins. Not human ruins. Alien. Long buried beneath the rock. Anna found proof of it. Proof that could not be hidden forever." Rami frowned. "Alien ruins. Are you saying yes?" the old man interrupted. "Humans were not the first here. Anna wanted to bring the truth back to the galaxy. But the company that controls the routes, the information, the trade, they wanted silence. That is why she was taken." Marco felt fire in his chest. Anger and hope together. If Anna had found something so important, she would never stop fighting for it. And neither would he. Myra touched his arm gently. "This is why I brought you here. You needed to see what she risked everything for." Marco looked at her, then back at the old man. "Where are these ruins?" The old man's eyes were heavy with warning. "They are dangerous. Many who enter do not return. But if you must go, I can show you the path." Marco nodded. His decision was already made. That night, as they rested in the small safe house, Marco sat alone with Anna's journal. He read her words by the dim light, hearing her voice in every line. I believe humanity has not yet seen the full truth of its place in the stars. The ruins whisper of a past older than memory. If I am right, everything we know is only a shadow of what came before. Marco closed the book, pressing it to his chest. He felt her near, as if she had written those words only yesterday. He stood and looked out the window at the broken colony, the wind carrying dust across the silent streets. Tomorrow, he would go into the ruins. Tomorrow, he would follow her trail once more. He whispered into the night, I will find you, Anna. I will not stop. The forgotten colony had given him a new piece of the puzzle. And now, the path led deeper into the ancient dark below. The night was quiet, but inside Daniel's heart there was no calm. He had spent days chasing faint clues about his wife. Each lead brought him closer but also deeper into shadows that seemed endless. Now, he stood at the edge of the old factory on the east side of the city. The building looked abandoned from the outside, windows broken and walls covered with rust, but Daniel knew better. His wife's trail had led him here. Beside him stood Myra, the young woman who had first told him that his wife was alive. She held a small tablet in her hand, scanning signals around the area. Her face was tense. There are energy readings here, she whispered. Not normal for an empty building. Someone is inside, and they're hiding something. Daniel tightened his coat and looked at the dark building. If she's in there, we'll find her, he said firmly. They entered the factory through a side door that creaked as if warning them to stay away. The air inside smelled of metal and dust. Old machines stood silent like sleeping giants, but faint lights glowed far down a corridor. The sound of footsteps echoed, though no one was in sight. Myra tapped the tablet again. Movement ahead. At least 4 people. And something, shielded. Daniel's pulse quickened. Could it be her? His wife? He moved carefully, hiding behind a steel pillar as shadows shifted. He saw 2 men in black uniforms standing guard by a heavy sliding door. They held weapons and looked alert. Daniel whispered, that door. She's behind it? But Myra grabbed his arm. Wait. It's a trap. They know you're coming. They want you here. Daniel thought about it. Ever since he began this search, someone had been one step ahead, as if his moves were predicted. If they wanted him here, then it meant one thing: they were using his wife as bait. Still, he couldn't turn back now. Trap or not, I can't walk away, Daniel said quietly. His eyes burned with determination. Help me get inside. Myra hesitated, then nodded. Fine. But we need a plan. Together, they studied the guards' movement. Every few minutes, the guards turned away from the door to scan the area. Myra quickly adjusted a small device from her bag and rolled it across the floor. It made a faint buzzing noise, and within seconds, smoke hissed out, filling the hall with a gray mist. The guards shouted, confused, and fired blindly into the smoke. Daniel moved swiftly, using the noise as cover. He struck one guard from behind and pulled the weapon from his hand. The second guard swung wildly, but Myra hit him with a stun device, dropping him instantly. Quick! Myra said, pointing at the sliding door. Daniel rushed forward and tried the door. It was locked with an electronic panel. He smashed the panel, but it didn't budge. Myra connected her tablet to the system, fingers flying across the screen. Hurry, Daniel urged, his voice low but sharp. The lock clicked, and the door slid open with a heavy groan. Inside was a dimly lit chamber. At the center was a glass containment unit, wires and tubes connected to it. Inside the chamber was a woman lying unconscious. Daniel's heart nearly stopped. It was her. His wife. He rushed to the glass and pressed his hand against it. Anna, his voice broke for the first time in years. She looked thinner, pale, but her face was unmistakable. before he could think of what to do, a voice echoed through the chamber. "Well done, Daniel. You finally made it." Out of the shadows stepped a man in a dark suit. His eyes were cold, and his smile carried no warmth. Daniel recognized him instantly. It was Victor Hale, a rival businessman who had once tried to buy Daniel's company. Daniel had refused, and Victor had vanished years ago. Now here he was, alive and standing in front of him. Daniel clenched his fists. You did this." Victor laughed softly. "Your wife was never meant to die. She was taken. For years, she has been the perfect test subject for my research. You see, Daniel, people think money is power, but true power is control over life itself." He gestured toward the glass chamber. "And she has something unique in her blood, something even she doesn't know." Daniel's rage boiled. "You used her?" Victor tilted his head. "Don't sound so shocked. She's the key to everything. And now, you've walked right into my hands. Just like I wanted." Myra aimed her weapon at him, but Victor didn't flinch. Dozens of armed guards stepped out from the shadows, surrounding them. Their weapons all pointed at Daniel and Myra. "You see," Victor said calmly, "I could have killed you many times. But I needed you desperate enough to follow the trail. Now, you're here. The billionaire who never gives up. And soon, I will use you too." Daniel's mind raced. He had finally found his wife, but she was trapped in a prison, and they were surrounded with no escape. Still, Daniel refused to show fear. He looked directly at Victor and said, "You made one mistake." Victor raised an eyebrow. "And what is that?" Daniel stepped closer to the glass chamber, keeping his voice steady. "You underestimated me. You think money made me strong. But it was never the money. It was what I was willing to fight for." He placed his hand on the glass again. "And I will fight for her until the end." For the first time, Victor's smile faded slightly. The air in the room grew heavier. Myra whispered, "Daniel, what now?" Daniel's eyes narrowed. He didn't know how yet, but he was sure of one thing: this battle was only beginning. The factory trap had been sprung, but Daniel wasn't the kind of man to surrender. Not when his wife's life was at stake. The sound of the jet engines faded as Adam and his team landed back in the city. His mind was heavy, and his body carried the weight of sleepless nights. But his heart, for the first time in years, carried something else: hope. He had seen the photograph. He had seen the woman who looked exactly like his wife, standing in the shadows of that remote village. The picture was old, but her eyes, her smile, the way she held her hand, those were the same. He could not mistake them. Maya and Tom followed close behind him as the team returned to Adam's mansion. The air inside was quiet, almost too quiet. The staff looked at their employer with anxious eyes, knowing he had been gone for days searching for something everyone thought was impossible. Inside his private study, Adam spread out all the papers, maps, and photographs on the long wooden table. The photo of the woman, his wife, was placed right in the center. Maya leaned forward. "Adam, we must think carefully. If this is true, if she really is alive, then someone powerful kept her hidden. It means we are fighting not just rumors, but people who want you to never know the truth." Tom, who had been silent for most of the journey, finally spoke. "Sir, I agree. We need to prepare. If your wife is alive, she's not free. She's trapped by someone, and they won't let her go easily." Adam's jaw tightened. He looked at the photograph again, then at his reflection in the glass window. "I lost her once. I will not lose her again. I will find her, no matter the cost." The next morning, Adam's phone rang. It was an unknown number. He hesitated for a second before answering. A voice came through the line, low and urgent. "Stop looking. Forget her. Adam froze. His fingers clenched around the phone. "Who is this?" he demanded. The voice did not answer his question. Instead, it continued, "The woman you seek is alive, but she is not yours anymore. Leave this path, or you will regret it." Then the line went dead. Adam stood still, the silence of the room pressing in on him. His heart raced, not with fear, but with fury. Someone knew. Someone had been watching his every move. Maya entered the room just as he set the phone down. "What happened?" Adam told her about the call. Her eyes widened. "This means we are close. Too close. That's why they called you. They're afraid." Adam nodded. "And fear means they're hiding something." That night, Adam could not sleep. He sat in his study, staring at the map and the photo, thinking about the voice on the phone. His memories of his wife played in his mind, her laughter, her gentle words, the way she always believed in him even when the world did not. He thought of the funeral, the coffin, the tears of the people around him. What if all of that had been a lie? Tom entered quietly and placed a folder on the desk. "Sir, we found something. Records from a private hospital near the mountains. Around the time of the accident, a woman with no name was admitted there. She matched your wife's description." Adam quickly opened the folder. Inside were hospital papers, medical notes, and even a blurry scan of the woman's face. His chest tightened. It was her. Tom lowered his voice. "The hospital closed years ago. But some of the staff still live nearby. If anyone knows the truth, it's them." Adam stood. His decision was made. "Then that's where we go next. No more waiting." The following day, Adam and his team drove into the countryside. The roads were long and empty, stretching into valleys and across rivers. Hours passed, but Adam did not complain. Every mile brought him closer to the truth. At last, they reached the old hospital. The building stood half in ruins, its walls cracked, its windows broken. Nature had started to take it back, with vines curling up the sides and birds nesting in the corners. Inside, the air smelled of dust and memories. The halls were silent, but Adam felt as if the walls themselves held secrets. He walked slowly, his footsteps echoing. They searched room after room until they found an old records office. Papers lay scattered, but some were still intact. Maya carefully picked up a dusty file and opened it. Her eyes widened. "Adam, look at this." She showed him a file marked with a number instead of a name. Inside were medical notes about a woman who had survived a severe accident. She had no identification, but the notes mentioned she had spoken once, whispering a name, Adam. Adam's breath caught in his throat. His wife had called his name. She had been alive, reaching out for him, but he had never known. Tears filled his eyes, but he blinked them away. "Where is she now?" he whispered. The file ended suddenly. No note of where she was transferred, no record of her final destination. Just silence. Tom clenched his fists. They took her. Someone powerful must have moved her from here. That's why no one could find her. Adam stared at the empty space on the page, his heart burning with both pain and determination. "If they think I will give up, they are wrong. I will not rest until I find her." As they left the hospital, the sky was already dark. The air was heavy, and a storm began to roll in. Lightning cracked across the horizon, as if the heavens themselves were marking the path ahead. Adam stood outside the ruins, his coat flapping in the wind. "She is alive," he said, his voice steady. "And I will find her. No matter how deep they hide her, no matter how powerful they are, I will not stop." Maya placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we will stand with you. To the very end." Tom nodded firmly. "We are with you, sir." The storm raged above, but inside Adam's heart, a fire burned brighter than ever. The truth could no longer stay hidden. And soon, the world would know. The hidden compound lay deep in the mountains, far from any city or town. Its walls were tall, cold, and gray, built to keep people out and to keep people in. Adam's car stopped at the edge of the forest. The rain had turned the road into mud, but he did not care. He could feel the end of his journey ahead. Beside him, Maya and Tom checked their equipment silently. They knew the risks. Whoever controlled this compound had watched Adam for weeks, possibly months. But he could not stop now. His wife's life and the truth waited inside. Adam took a deep breath. Stay close. No mistakes. The three of them moved carefully through the forest. The rain soaked their clothes, but it was nothing compared to the fire in Adam's heart. Every step brought him closer to the woman he had thought lost forever. When they reached the outer wall, Adam crouched behind a rock and surveyed the guards. There were at least 6, armed and alert. They patrolled in pairs, but their movements were predictable. Maya whispered, "We can distract them, give Adam a path to the gate." Adam nodded. "Do it. I'll follow the trail straight to her." Maya and Tom moved to the side, kicking stones and causing small crashes in the forest. 2 of the guards turned toward the noise, and Adam used the moment to slip past the others. He ran to the gate, finding it locked with a digital panel. He connected his device quickly, fingers moving faster than thought. The lock clicked, and the gate slowly opened. The compound beyond was silent and still, except for the faint hum of electricity. Inside, the corridors were narrow, dimly lit by fluorescent lights. Adam's heart raced. He had followed clues, maps, and whispers across the city, across countries, and now he was here inside the place that had held his wife. A sound caught his attention. A faint voice, calling his name. "Adam," he froze. His breath caught. It was her. He ran toward the voice, turning a corner, and there she was. His wife. Anna. She looked tired, thinner than he remembered, but her eyes shone with recognition. "Adam," she cried, running to him. He caught her in his arms, holding her tightly. "I found you. I never gave up. I will never give up," he whispered. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I thought I would never see you again." He pressed his forehead against hers. "You are alive. That is all that matters. I will bring you home." They barely noticed the guards rushing toward them until a loud alarm sounded. Victor Hale's voice echoed through the compound's speakers. "Adam. You think this is over? You are too late. She belongs to me now." Adam stepped back, holding Anna close. "Not anymore." The guards advanced, but Adam's eyes scanned the room. He had a plan. With a quick motion, he pressed a button on his device. A small explosion erupted in the corridor behind the guards, sending sparks and smoke everywhere. Maya and Tom appeared from the shadows, joining the fight. They moved with precision, disabling guards and clearing a path. Victor appeared in the control room above, glaring down. "You cannot escape," he shouted. Adam lifted Anna onto his back. "We'll see about that," he said. They ran through the corridors, guided by Maya and Tom. Every step was tense, every corner a possible trap. But Adam's determination burned brighter than fear. At last, they reached the outside. The rain had stopped, and the night sky stretched above them. Adam looked around. He needed a way down the cliff to safety. Tom pointed. "There. Rope lines. I saw them when we came in." Adam moved quickly, securing the lines and helping Anna down. She held tight, trusting him completely. Behind them, shouts and footsteps grew louder. Maya and Tom followed, taking the last guards by surprise. By the time they reached the forest, Victor's shouts were faint echoes. They did not stop running until the city lights appeared in the distance. Exhausted but alive, Adam set Anna down. She looked up at him, a mixture of relief and disbelief in her eyes. "I thought I would never see you again," she whispered. "You're here now," Adam said softly. "And I will never let anyone take you from me again." Anna smiled through her tears. "You believed, even when I thought it was hopeless." Adam held her hands. "Hope is not enough. Love is. And I fought for both." Maya and Tom watched them, proud but silent. They had played their part, but this reunion was theirs alone. Adam looked back toward the mountains, toward the compound. Victor Hale had tried to control everything, hide the truth, and manipulate lives. But Adam had proven that courage, determination, and love were stronger than fear and power. Anna stepped closer, resting her head against his shoulder. "Tell me everything. How did you find me?" Adam smiled, brushing rain-soaked hair from her face. "Step by step. Clue by clue. I never gave up, and I followed the path wherever it led, no matter the danger. I promised myself I would find you, and I did." They walked together toward the city lights, leaving the dark compound behind. Adam knew challenges would still come. Victor might try again, and secrets from the hidden files and ruins might still surface. But for now, Anna was safe, and the world could wait. As they reached a quiet street, Adam held her close. "We're together now. And nothing can take that from us." Anna smiled, finally free from fear. "Nothing. Ever." And for the first time in years, Adam felt peace. The journey had been long and dangerous, but it had led him to the most important truth: love and determination could overcome even the darkest schemes. Above them, the night sky was clear, stars shining brightly. A new beginning waited. And together, Adam and Anna stepped into it, stronger than ever, ready to face whatever came next side by side.